Hi guys, before the by-election that took place in Scotland, Reform UK saw an opportunity to win the seat, and instead of putting forward policies to convince people to vote for them, they engaged in gutter politics. The type we haven't really seen since the days of UKIP. Farage and others claimed that Anas Sarwar, the Labour leader in Scotland, was prioritising the Pakistani community over everyone else. This is completely false, and I debunked it during a recent live stream. Now, Richard Tice was asked about this on the Laura Kuenssberg show, but in typical form resorted to dishonest behaviour. Have a listen.
Talk to you about another issue, though, because one of the reasons Zia Youssef left Reform was because of some of the racist abuse that he had been receiving. But this week, Reform has been accused of stirring up or trying to stir up some tensions itself this week. Your leader, Nigel Farage, claimed that the Muslim Scottish Labour leader, Anas Sarwar, had said that he would prioritise the Pakistani community. He did not use those words. Was Nigel Farage's claim false?
No, look, what we were talking about was that actually the Labour leader in Scotland was essentially sort of developing sectarian politics, and we called that out. And we had the Scottish by-election, and we came within 750 people of winning it. So the ridiculous claims that made by the other main politicians in Scotland about us, frankly, the voters have just ignored. And we came within a whisker of creating an absolute shock, a seismic shock. But we got 26%, it was a three-way marginal, and I think Scottish politics is changing. And we had a very simple slogan that seemed to work. Drill, Scotland, drill. The oil and gas industry generates huge prosperity for Scotland, for the United Kingdom, and we should be embracing it and enhancing it, not shutting it down, which the Labour government have essentially followed what the Tories did before with ridiculous windfall tax.
Do you not think it's important to say things that are true in politics? Mr Farage claimed that Anas Sarwar had used words that he simply did not. He made a false claim on a sensitive issue. Was he wrong to do that?
No, look, it is sensitive, you're right. But, was it right for Mr Sarwar to claim that Pakistanis and the South Asian community should, for example, dominate and dictate the Scottish educational agenda? Those were some of the things.
My question to you is whether or not it was right for Mr Farage to make a false claim about words Anas Sarwar did not use.
Well, you can interpret, I think, in the overall context, it was not a false claim. It was what Mr Sarwar was doing, which was bringing sectarian politics into Scottish politics, and that is wrong. That's not how we do things.
OK, Mr Tice, thank you very much indeed.
What a pathetic interview. No pushback whatsoever. Do you think it was wrong for Nigel Farage to lie? Well, I don't think he lied. OK, do you think it was wrong for Nigel Farage to lie? I don't think he lied. That's pretty much it. Now, I'll actually show you the clip, because for some reason the BBC couldn't get their hands on this clip. I could get my hands on this clip, but the BBC couldn't. Laura Kuenssberg wasn't willing to show the actual clip that Nigel Farage and Richard Tice are referring to. So let's see it together.
If it wasn't for Scotland's Pakistani community and the UK's Pakistani community, we wouldn't have had a National Health Service that was able to treat and save lives. We wouldn't have had a vaccination scheme that has saved generations. We wouldn't have had the food distribution and food manufacturing companies across the country. We wouldn't have had those delivery drivers across the country. We wouldn't have had those transport workers across the country. Scotland and UK's Pakistani community literally kept this country going in our darkest and most difficult moments, and we should never forget. And that then brings me on to what I feel our role is going forward. And can I first of all say that some might think when they see Pakistanis in politics and see Pakistanis in different political parties in Scotland and politics, that somehow that demonstrates a division in Pakistani communities. Actually, I think the opposite. I think it is a source of immense strength that we now have Pakistanis being represented in every mainstream political party in Scotland and across the UK. Because we will only truly get real power if we just have more Pakistanis sitting in council chambers and parliaments, but actually having more Pakistanis and South Asians sitting in the corridors of power making the decisions. And that's where I'll end tonight, is to say the change is coming, and the days where our South Asian community are viewed as a vote bank or a curry bank are well and truly gone.
So he says here that The Pakistani community were there for all of society during the pandemic, be it in hospitals, be it doing deliveries, be it in supermarkets, whatever. And then he goes on to say, Pakistanis are in every political party, which demonstrates that they're not one political wing, but that they represent all political viewpoints. Now, of course, Nigel Farage and Richard Tice don't want people to believe that. They want to believe that the Pakistani community represents something else. And this is why it's so important that Laura Kuenssberg showed that clip, because it gives a proper context. What Nigel Farage and Reform did was took sections of that clip that I showed you and spun it as, Anas Sarwar just wants the Pakistani community to be represented. He doesn't care about anyone else. He was at a convention, at an event representing the Pakistani community, where he was talking about what they did during the pandemic, the important work they did, and he talked to them about how they are represented in all aspects of politics, in different political parties. What did he say that was wrong? But of course, Farage wants to create division in society. He's now latched on to something that people fear, the Pakistani community. And I think it was a cynical ploy right before the election, the by-election in Scotland, because that clip that I showed you was from, I believe, 2 years ago. So it's not that it's something that he said recently and this is an attempt to correct the record or to hold him to account. They're looking for something that they can use against the Pakistani community. It's about trying to whip up anger. And instead of actually saying, look, these are the policies that we want people to vote for, they're just trying to engage in this sort of gutter politics. But as I said, it needs to be called out. How is it possible that Laura Kuenssberg couldn't show that clip? How is it possible that I could find it, but the BBC couldn't? It needs pushback. Journalists are supposed to do their job. Laura Kuenssberg earns almost £500,000 a year, I believe. A huge salary. Why isn't she doing her frigging job?